back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for all right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday, June 20th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show, talk about the quarterbacks in the first segment. Some owners have this proposal about having an alternate salary cap on quarterbacks and their salaries. So we'll go over that. I'll give you my thoughts on it. And then in the second part of the show, we will continue our schedule breakdowns today. I will be doing the Cincinnati Bengals schedule. Then in the third part of the show, I'll talk about Tom Brady, some recent comments just on, his new role with Fox. I'll get into that. And just some other comments about Bill Belichick as well. And then in the fourth part of the show, we'll talk about some quarterback contracts that teams could possibly regret, and they might not end up working out, and I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. And then in the final part of the show, I'll talk about a little bit of beef that's going on, a little bit of a feud between Trayvon Diggs of the Dallas Cowboys and Malik Nabers of the New York Giants. So we'll get into that as well to conclude the show. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about quarterback salaries and an idea that some owners have to kind of, work through this, I guess. I don't really know how to put it, but we know quarterback salaries have been increasing. And you look at some of the deals that have been made, and some of them, you kind of scratch your head a little bit. But you understand because, again, with quarterbacks, there's going to be overpays. But some owners have discussed the idea of capping quarterback salaries to prevent them from exceeding a certain percentage of the team's salary cap. And this was brought up by Tom Pelissero on the Rich Eisen show. And this is what he had to say. And this was on Tuesday. He said, there has certainly been discussion within the league among certain owners about even the idea of a quarterback cap, that at some point you don't want quarterback numbers to go over a certain percentage of your salary cap. To my knowledge, that hasn't really gained traction, in part because so many teams have paid their quarterbacks. And I think that's the only quote in the article that I have here from that. So I understand where some teams are coming from with that idea, because it really has gotten to the point where it's, ridiculous how much money these quarterbacks are making. Now, some quarterbacks do deserve it more than others. Now, I do think the quarterbacks that have gotten paid, they do deserve to get paid. But at the money that they're getting paid for, it's in my opinion, it's too much. But this idea I mean, I guess this is something they maybe should have thought of many years ago. However, they probably didn't realize that quarterbacks would be making this kind of money right now. So this idea is kind of, all for nothing because teams have already paid their quarterback, a lot of money. Trevor Lawrence is making $55 million a year now. The Jags would be a team that could use that. The Dolphins, they're going to be a team that's going to pay Tua a lot of money. But I don't think they're looking to try to pay him a $55 million contract. I talked about it yesterday. Because, when you give your quarterback a big contract like that, it does kind of put you in a predicament where you can't bring back some of your other guys at other key positions. And you're going to have to look to the draft and start over at certain positions. And one team that is going to have to pay their quarterback at some point is the 49ers. Look at all the players that they have to pay. And when they pay Brock Purdy, they're going to lose a lot of these guys because they're just not going to be able to keep everybody. They haven't paid Brandon Ayuk yet, and it seems like he could be on his way out. But now, if you pay Brock Purdy that kind of contract, well, you're going to lose guys on defense, on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be a problem. Now, the 49ers are a well-run organization where, they could work around it, and they could find more talent. But you're losing good players then. Now, there's other ways of working around these big quarterback contracts. You can move, funds around, kind of like what the Cowboys did with Dak. We've seen that. And quarterbacks could take pay cuts as well. Because, a guy we're going to talk about later in the show, Tom Brady, he was always taking pay cuts. So he could keep guys so they can continue to win. So there's ways to work around these big contracts. Now, eventually, it's all going to add up, and you're going to have to pay, the money to these guys. But I do understand where this is coming from because, again, quarterbacks are getting paid a lot of money, and they really take up a large chunk of teams' salary caps. So, and there's other quarterbacks that are going to be looking to get paid. Like I said, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be getting a new deal at some point. Brock Purdy's going to get a new deal. And even before that, Jordan Love. They're looking to get a deal done before training camp. So, and it's going to take up a big chunk of the salary cap. But like I said, there's ways to work around it. And listen, I mean, this goes for pretty much every sport, but, the owners, they enabled all this. Because they're the ones that give the contract. And because you do that, you reset the market, other guys want to get paid the same amount of money, and then it just keeps going up and up and up and up. And here we are now, and now these quarterbacks are getting paid $50+ million, and at some point $60+ million. I think I saw something yesterday. I think was it Mike? It might have been Mike Florio talking about like C.J. Stroud's contract. Someone was talking about it. It could be like a $70-80 million contract for a quarterback, which is the most important position in the NFL. We understand that. But that's a lot of money. And it's going to be harder on teams, like I said, to keep guys at other positions. The quarterback is the most important position, but you still have to have a team around the quarterback. Because if you don't have an offensive line that can block, quarterback's really not going to be able to do anything. So it's an interesting conversation, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to go anywhere, especially because teams just paid their quarterbacks, and there's going to be more quarterbacks that are going to be getting paid down the line. So, but it is interesting though that this was an idea, but this should have been something that if they would have thought about this years ago, then maybe that would have gained some traction, but I think it's too little, too late. But again, that has to be something that gets, passed through, and it might have not have been able to. So, but yeah, it is, like I said, it is a little ridiculous how much money some of these quarterbacks are getting paid. Like I said, they deserve to get paid. I have no problem with that. But at the money that they're getting, when some of these guys, they still kind of need to prove themselves a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of where I have an issue. But for the most part, you're always going to be overpaying for a quarterback because, again, it's the most important position. So, like Trevor Lawrence, I still have confidence that Trevor Lawrence is going to be really good. But, he's not coming off of a great year. We haven't really seen him live up to his expectations just yet. But getting $55 million a year, and it's the same money as Joe Burrow, at least per year, with the guy that's been to 2 AFC Championship games and a Super Bowl appearance. Yeah, I don't agree with that, but that's just me. So that's my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Would that be a good idea if this did gain momentum and it had a chance to, become a thing? Quarterback salaries be on a cap. Let me know. Because, yeah, quarterbacks are always going to make the most money. But it doesn't seem like that's going to end up happening. Because, again, quarterbacks already got paid. So, but let me know what you guys think about that idea. Is it a good idea? Is it not a good idea? Let me know. Either way, probably not going to see it happen. But I just thought it was something interesting that I saw that I wanted to talk about. So, yeah, that's pretty much it on that topic. So, we did bring up Joe Burrow briefly. So, we're going to take our first break of the show. And then when we come back, we will discuss the Cincinnati Bengals schedule. I'll give you my early win-loss predictions for them. And that is what we will do when we come back from our first break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals schedule, and I will give you my early win-loss predictions for them. So last year, the Bengals, they finished with a winning record, 9-8, but they missed the playoffs. Joe Burrow, of course, got hurt late in the season, and they were looking like they were going to go on another run and make the postseason, but that just ended up not happening, and they're looking to bounce back, and hopefully Joe Burrow stays healthy. T. Higgins, of course, recently signed the franchise tag. You got Jamar Chase still, of course. This team, if they stay healthy, they're going to be ready to roll and have a good season. And I think, it's between them and the Ravens, in my opinion, for the AFC North, if Burrow stays healthy. So this is the Bengals schedule right here. And I know we did the Patriots schedule recently, and I had the Bengals winning that game. The Bengals, these last couple of years, they get off to slow starts. I feel like here, with this game, they should win. They're the better team. You got a rookie head coach in Gerard Mayo. I mean, it seems like Jacoby Brissett is going to be the one that starts week 1. And he's been, and he can win some games for you. He definitely can, wherever he's been, really. But I just think the Bengals, they're the better team. I think they should win this game. And then you take on the Kansas City Chiefs in week 2. The Chiefs will be coming off of a game at home against the Bears, or the Ravens. I don't know why I said the Bears. I guess because all the B's that I see there, and I just think, but anyways. I don't know why the Bears came out. That's weird. But anyways, yeah, the Ravens, they coming off a game against the Ravens. So we'll see how that game goes. But yeah, then they take on the Bengals. So yeah, the Chiefs got a tough first 2 games. And we're accustomed to seeing this matchup later in the season. And basically every single one of their matchups, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, they've all been 3-point games. Which I think is incredible. But that just shows you how, even these two teams are when they play against each other. Like, yeah, we could sit here and say Joe Burrow is 3-1 against Patrick Mahomes, but the games all come down to 3 points. So here, I think the Chiefs, they get the win here. I think Mahomes, improves his record against Joe Burrow, gets himself to 2-3, and then maybe if they meet in the playoffs, he beats him again, and then, they're both 500 against each other. So, but yeah, I expect this game to be good, but I'm going to say that the Chiefs win this one. Then they take on the Commanders. Rookie quarterback. I think this is a Monday night game. Bengals are at home. Think they should get the win here. You got 2 former LSU quarterbacks going at it. Jane Daniels against Joe Burrow. But I'm going to say the Bengals take this one as well and get to 2-1. Then they take on the Panthers in week 4. I'm going to say that's a win as well. So then they take on the Ravens in week 5, which is a big game. Now, I like to say that these two teams will split against each other. The Ravens did sweep the season series last year. And the first game, the Ravens, I think they were up 10. Well, yeah, they were up 10, I believe, and then the Bengals scored a touchdown. So it ended up being a 3-point game the first time around. But the Bengals, or the Ravens, looked like not the much better team, but they did look like the better team in that game. Burrow was still dealing with the calf injury. Then in the second game in Baltimore, it looked like it was going to be back and forth all game long, and then Burrow gets hurt, throwing that touchdown to Joe Mixon, and he was out, and then the Ravens, dominated the rest of the way in that game. But that could have been a really good game if Burrow doesn't get hurt. But like I said, I think these teams are going to split with each other. So there's going to be 1 win, 1 loss in there. Then week 6, I don't understand why, but the Giants have a Sunday night game against the Bengals. I don't know why the NFL decided to put this game on Sunday night. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to say the Bengals win this game as well. So give them another win. Then they take on the Browns in Cleveland. And for some reason, Joe Burrow has a problem playing in Cleveland these last couple times. He has not played well. So, I mean, I guess I got to say I'm going to take the Bengals and say that continues. Because until you could beat the Browns in Cleveland, I'm gonna have to pick the Browns here. So I'm gonna say that the Bengals also split with the Browns. So I'm gonna say they lose here. Eagles come in. That's gonna be a tough game. That is gonna be a tough game. Because I think the Eagles are gonna be really good this year again. Yeah, that one's a toss-up for me. I'm gonna say the Eagles win. I'm gonna give the Eagles a win there. Now I forget what I forget. I mean, because I did the NFC East. That's either gonna be a win or a loss. I mean, that's really all it could be, other than a tie. That one's a toss-up game for me. That one can go either way. The Raiders with Minshew. I think the Bengals should win there. I like the pieces on offense for the Raiders, and of course they got Max Crosby, and they added Christian Wilkins on the defensive side of the ball. But I think the Bengals should win that game. Like I said, they split with the Ravens. The Chargers game could be interesting. I think the Bengals should win that. I think they beat the Steelers. That Week 18 matchup could have heavy implications with those two teams in Pittsburgh. The Cowboys game, that could go either way. The Cowboys offense is really good with Dak and CeeDee Lamb, of course. The Bengals played there a couple of years ago and lost to Cooper Rush. I'm gonna give the edge to the Bengals though. The Titans, the Bengals did lose in Tennessee last year. I think I forget what the final score was. Titans blew them out. But you got Will Levis at quarterback. I think the Bengals should win that game, so I'll give them a win. Said they'll split with the Browns. I think they'll beat the Broncos, and then that Week 18 matchup against the Steelers. That one. I mean, it depends on if the Bengals got anything to play for. I have the Ravens right now as the number 1 team in the division, slightly. So this could be for a wild card spot. Yeah, that's tough. I'm gonna say the Bengals do win. So I got them losing to the Chiefs, losing to the Ravens once, the Browns once, the Eagles, and then anybody else. I got four losses there. I got them at 12 wins. I don't know. I feel like they'll get like 11 wins. Yeah, I said the Chiefs. They lose to the Ravens once. Eagles, Browns. I think there's got to be another loss in there somewhere. Maybe they lose to the Steelers. Maybe they lose to the Cowboys. I'm going to say they get around 11 wins. 11, 12 wins. So I think it's going to be between them and the Ravens for the division. I've said that all along. This is the best division in football. So like I said, I have the Ravens splitting with them. The Browns are going to split with them. The Steelers, I said the Bengals would sweep the Steelers because I feel like with Burrow, I just feel like they're the better team. With him. But if you go back to Week 1 of the 22 season, the Steelers did win that game. They narrowly won that game. So we'll see what happens. And the Steelers swept the Bengals last year. And that was with Jake Browning at quarterback. So, but that's my thoughts on the Bengals schedule. Like I said, I feel like I lean more towards 11 wins for them. But also, again, Joe Burrow's got to stay healthy. That's really the key for this season. If he could stay healthy, the Bengals are going to be a problem. And I did bring this up. When he went to back-to-back AFC Championship games, Lamar Jackson got hurt late in the season. Last year, Lamar Jackson made it to an AFC Championship game, and Joe Burrow got hurt. What's going to happen this year? Can we see both of these quarterbacks stay healthy the entire season at the same time? That's what I want to see. Because how is this division going to shape out if that does end up happening? But yeah, they got on the schedule here. There are tough games here. You got the Ravens twice, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Cowboys. And you have a problem with the Browns in Cleveland. It's just one of those things. I mean, it's like when I don't know if this is a good comparison, but I guess like Tom Brady playing in Denver, like he had a problem playing there. I mean, Brady still won games there, but that was one place that he, at times would not play well. Maybe it's just one of those things. Against a certain team in a certain stadium, you just don't play well. But we'll see what happens this time around. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link, that is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will talk about Tom Brady, just, some comments that he made about his new job with Fox, as well as some other things, talking about Bill Belichick as well. So we'll get into all that when we come back from our second break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about Tom Brady, just some comments he made recently about, his job with Fox and some other things as well. So let's get into what he had to say. He said, now this is on The Herd with Colin Cowherd. So he said, I believe that broadcasting at Fox this year for the first time will give me a lot more structure like I'm used to. And I really actually will look forward to that. Now, when I hear that, I did sit down and watch Seinfeld, the entirety of that. And the first thing I thought of is when Kramer gets a job. Well, yeah, he gets a job, but he doesn't actually work for them. He doesn't make any money. And there was that scene where he was making breakfast in Jerry's apartment, and he was telling Jerry, I'm missing structure for my life. So when I hear that's when I hear what Brady says, that's immediately where my mind went to. So if you know what I'm talking about, it's he was working at Kramer was working at Brett Leland, and he just because he was trying to fix something, and they were like, oh, we have a meeting, and he just went into the meeting, and he got a job, but he actually really wasn't on the payroll or anything, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. But that's just immediately where my mind went to when Brady's talking about structure. So that's what Brady said. Then he also said the outcome. Then he also talked about some other things as well. The outcomes weren't guaranteed for any of us. You never really know how sports are going to go, which is why we all tune in. We tune in because the outcomes are very unexpected. The only way that I knew how to combat the nerves and the anxiousness of the game was to prepare. And some other things that he had to say as well. He said, it's almost like when I was a player, I never felt like I did things the right way. There were games where I'd go into the locker room afterward and think, I'm the worst quarterback in the NFL. That's being really hard on yourself if you really believe that. Like, why would they even want me to play quarterback for this team? And I'm sure I'm going to feel that way here at Fox, where I finish a game and I go, God, did I even give them what they wanted? It's a very challenging thing in your mind. And I'll be honest, kind of feel the same way after I do shows. I have that, I'm not as hard on myself as Tom Brady is when he's saying that he feels like he's the worst quarterback. But yeah, I feel like I'm kind of the same way with my shows. Like, there are shows where I finish and I'm like, yeah, I could have been better, or that this could have been better. But, that happens and you learn from it. And that's kind of what this is all going to be with Brady. It's a new chapter in his life. It's a new challenge, as I have the segment title labeled here. So yeah, it's not going to be perfect right off the bat, but the more reps you get, and that structure that you'll now have again, you're eventually going to find your footing. And I honestly, I've said this. I think he's going to do fine. The amount of knowledge that this guy's going to have and the stuff that he's going to be saying on the broadcasts, I think it's going to be hard for him not to do well, just because of everything that he's been through over the course of his career, the knowledge that he has, because this guy, he studied. And the amount of winning that he did too. It's just all the things that he's been through. It's hard to say he's not going to do well, but we'll have to find out. And then this is what he talked about with preparation for now, the broadcast that he'll be a part of. He said, did I feel like I was prepared? Did I feel like our crew was prepared? Did I give them the best over the course of the week so that we could give ourselves the best opportunity to be successful for fans? Because really the game is the show. We're there to add our take on it and our analysis, but it's also, did we feel like we added to the broadcast? From my standpoint, I'm going to work as hard as I can in the process of it to make sure I do deliver, because I don't want to let anyone down. I don't want to let the people at Fox here down, and I certainly don't want to let the great NFL fans down either. How am I working on the things that are actually going to add to the broadcast rather than just working on things to work on them that'll actually never come up? He talked about some other things as well. With Colin about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. He said, I don't think you can ever make a bad O-line good. Over the course of my career, I always say this, I believe I played with the best offensive line coach in the history of the NFL, in longtime New England Patriots assistant coach Dante. Oh, I cannot pronounce it. Dante Scarnecchia. I think I got it. Regardless of who we acquire, we always piece together a unit that played really well together. So much of great O-line play is a great O-line coach. Then he also said one of the great, so he had a lot of things to say. So one of the great things in my experience with the Patriots was that every player was coached. Even if you were on the practice squad, even if the scout team offense was out there, Dante Scarnecchia was coaching the scout team offensive line as if it was a starting offensive line. And I think a lot of coaches say, hey, I'll just coach the starter, maybe a few backups, as opposed to I'm going to coach every single position. So when people go down, we're going to fill those guys in, and they're going to just step in and play a great role for us because they're going to know all the calls. They're going to know the timing. They're going to know the precision. They're going to know exactly what we want to do on every play. I wanted to hear what else. Oh, yeah. So this is what he had to say about Belichick. I got to skip because there was a lot of quotes here. I think that's where Bill was actually so great. And no one saw him in those moments like we did on Saturday night. We were so prepared and so focused. We were the opposite of tight. Really, we were always relaxed because we had the answers to the test. Most coaches would just say, just run the play, whatever. If they get lucky and call the defensive counterplay at the same time, one for them. That's not how I played because that one play can mean everything. So I would say, if it's a 5% chance, this could happen. What should I do if it happens? So we're all on the same page. So I would tell the line, okay, if this guy's blitzing, I'm going to check to this play, call Wolf or called Beetle or called Python, whatever we want to call it. This is what we're going to do. So yeah, that was really all he had to say about Belichick. But yeah, had a lot to say in this appearance on the Herd. And when it comes to the broadcasting side of things, yeah, I mean, I think, if he's going to take it like he's still playing and he has that mentality of I'm going to go out there and give it my best, then he should be fine. And you're with Kevin Burkhardt, who I think is a good broadcaster, who's a good play-by-play guy. I think he should be able to do all right. And I think they've had like a few mock broadcasts. And he actually was, he did make an appearance in the booth with Kurt Menefee for and Joe Klatt for the UFL championship. So he got to, be in the broadcast booth for a little bit, get his feet wet. So he's gonna take this very seriously. That's kind of what I'm getting from what he was saying. So, like I said, I think he's going to do fine. And, we'll find out how he is, in week 1. Cowboys-Browns, that's what he's going to be doing. But, whether you love him or hate him, you got to some extent, kind of admire the work ethic of this guy, because I don't think I could have the work ethic that Tom Brady has. Because he wants to be the best. Now, I think everybody should strive for that. I think you should strive to, be your best at whatever you do. Tom Brady, I feel like, takes it like a step further. And maybe that's a step further that some people won't go. Everybody kind of goes at, their own pace and maybe not try to go that extra mile. Tom Brady, I feel like, is one of those people that will go the extra mile. But yeah, no, you got to admire that work ethic. He's going to take this really seriously, and yeah, I think he's going to be good at it. But only time will tell. I feel like some people, when it comes to Tony Romo, I feel like some people have kind of gotten, his analysis has kind of gotten a little stale. And we'll see how people respond to Tom Brady now being in the booth. It could end up being like, how fans reacted with Joe Buck, where they're just kind of, they don't want him calling their own team's games because they feel like he's biased. How are Jet fans going to feel if, Tom Brady's calling a Jet game this year? I don't think they're going to like it very much. As a Giant fan, you get used to Romo calling it. Well, it used to be, Troy Aikman was doing a lot of Giant Cowboy games. Romo's being with CBS, usually that's a AFC vehicle, but they've kind of, in recent years, Fox has done AFC matchups, CBS has done NFC matchups, so they're trying to get, the broadcasters on, or the networks on, every single, or both conferences. I did not word that great. So, but you know what I mean. They're crossing over, I guess, to the other conference. I guess that's really because yeah, I mean, because when you think of CBS, you think of the AFC. When you think of Fox, you think of the NFC because Fox does the NFC Championship game and CBS does the AFC Championship game. I mean, it's really not just with that, but just that's what you associate the conferences with AFC with CBS, Fox with the NFC. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how Brady's going to be. Like I said, his debut is going to be the Cowboys, but I mean, I feel like with Troy, I don't know, it wasn't a Troy Aikman thing, but it's like Fox did a lot of Cowboy games, and it was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the call. Now it's Kevin Burkhardt. It was with Greg Olsen for a little bit. Now it's with Tom Brady. So I don't know. Maybe you do some Patriot games. No, they're not going to do that until the Patriots are back to being good and respectable. They're not going to be calling Patriot games. And also, I get it. The Cowboys, they bring in the ratings. So I understand that. I get that from that perspective. So I'm curious to see where Greg Olsen's going to end up. Well, I think because is he going to end up with Joe Davis? Because I think Joe Davis is like the B team when it comes to Fox. But yeah, he's going to end up with one, the B or C team. I like Greg Olsen. I think Greg Olsen does a nice job. It's just that, it's unfortunate, but it's Tom Brady, and you're not going to have a 3-man booth. So yeah, we'll see where Greg Olsen ends up. But like I said, when it comes to Brady, got to appreciate the work ethic. And he's going to take, like I said, he's going to take this job really seriously. And you know what? When he is ready to go week 1 with Burkhardt, he's going to do a good job. I mean, I don't think he's going to be, one of the greatest broadcasters of all time, but, I think he's going to do well. Like, from reading the quotes, I feel like, yeah, he's going to take this seriously. He's going to go. It's going to be like when he was playing quarterback, and he's going to go out there and he's going to, I mean, I don't think he's going to try to overdo it, but I think he'll do well. I think he'll do well. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. How do you see Brady doing in his new role? Like I said, I think he's going to do all right. I think he's going to do fine. So, all right, so we're going to take our next break here. When we come back, we'll talk about the quarterback contracts that teams could possibly regret and the reasons for that. So that is what we will discuss in the 4th segment. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the 4th part of the show, we are going to talk about quarterback deals that teams could possibly regret. Obviously, there have been quarterbacks that have been paid recently, but there are some deals that maybe they don't necessarily work out. So let's kind of get into some of the deals. So we did talk about Trevor Lawrence during the show today. We did go over the deal that he got on a previous show. That's one I'd probably put in that category that the Jags could possibly regret it. Now, I still think Trevor Lawrence is going to be good. Well, and, 2022, the Jags went on that run towards the end of the year. They made the playoffs. That was his best season. And for me, I kind of throw out his rookie season. Last year, he dealt with injuries. I feel like this is going to be a bounce-back year for him. Now, the division's going to be tougher. I understand that. But having said that, he signed a 5-year, $275 million contract with $200 million guaranteed. That is a big contract. And look, like I said, 22 is his best year. They made the playoffs, but now we got to see a big jump here in 2024. This is year 4. Now, like I said, you could throw the rookie season out the window, but either way, it's still year 4. He's got to go out there and prove something. And I think he will. The Jaguars, they drafted a receiver. You got Travis Etienne running the football. Christian Kirk is still there. Evan Ingram has looked great since he's come over from the Giants. So they do have weapons on this offense. Now, hopefully Brian Thomas Jr. can become that number one receiver that they desire. Because, it's, Christian Kirk, he's been a good receiver for them, but, do we look at him as a number one? So let's see how Trevor Lawrence is this year. But that's one deal that I could see maybe it doesn't pan out. And maybe what we've seen Trevor Lawrence be these last couple years, that's just, you get to the second round of the playoffs, maybe that's as far as you're ever going to go with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. Then the second quarterback I do want to talk about. Now, actually, they're both coming off of significant injuries, but we'll go through both of them individually. So, individually, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins with the Falcons. Signed a 4-year contract, $100 million guaranteed. He's coming off of an Achilles injury. That's one that maybe that doesn't work out either. Now, I think, I say there's potential of it not working out, but with Kirk Cousins, I think he'll put up good numbers this year. But I think in the long term, this could be something that doesn't work out. Because, Kirk Cousins is getting older. Are the wheels going to fall off of it? I mean, last year he got hurt, but, he's put up good regular seasons over the course of his career. And maybe, down the line, I mean, eventually, yeah, you're getting up there in age. I mean, eventually, yeah, you're going to, hit a wall and you're not going to be as effective. So, they paid him a lot of money. I mean, he could also get hurt again. It's possible. Now, the Falcons, they do have, in their eyes, their quarterback of the future, Michael Penix Jr., waiting for his opportunity. But, you gave Kirk Cousins a lot of money. And him coming off of an injury like that, maybe he doesn't play well this year. I have the Falcons winning the division, but yeah, maybe he doesn't play well this year. And then that contract's not going to look good. Now, I lean on the side that he is going to be good, but, there's a possibility that doesn't work out. Now, the other quarterback that's coming off an Achilles injury is Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers has that contract of 3 years, $112.5 million with $75 million guaranteed. Now, so far it hasn't worked out with the Jets because 4 plays, he went down, got hurt. It's yeah, it doesn't look good right now. But I've been positive on the Jets, and I think this is going to be the year that they break through and get back to the playoffs. But yeah, with all the things going on with Rodgers and just the drama and how committed is he to playing football, there's many people that have questions about that. And the speculation on where he went because he had to skip out on minicamp. Yeah, it doesn't look good right now for the Jets. This is a big year for the Jets. Because if they don't get it done this year, Robert Saleh is going to be out. Joe Douglas is going to be out, most likely. They got to get it done. And because, listen, Rodgers could call it at any moment. I mean, he wants to play, depending on how this year goes, he's going to continue to play. But if he gets hurt again, he's not going to want to play anymore. Now, it depends on what the injury is, but yeah, he's not going to want to play. And then the Jets are left with, throw their hands up, what do we do now? But they'd have to start over. And I just think this team is too talented to be, just left in the dust. Like the last 2 years, they finished 7-10. If they could get better quarterback play, this team should make the playoffs. Because they have the defense, you have the running game, you hope the offensive line is improved. You got Garrett Wilson. The receiving core should be better around him. And if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy and the offensive line can block for him, this team should be good. But we got to wait and see. Now, this one's a big one. Daniel Jones. They already regret this contract that the Giants gave him. And at the time, they thought they were doing the right thing. Now, this was a 40-year, $160 million contract, $92 million guaranteed. Now, they can get out from under this contract, but this was a bad contract. But I feel like the Giants just were caught in between a rock and a hard place with this because, Daniel Jones just won them a playoff game. But, I mean, was he really the answer? I mean, they'll tell you that they believe he's the answer, but then you hear that they tried to move up and take Drake May. So, yeah, it's a quarterback, and they need that position. That's the most important position. I said this earlier in the show. So that contract is, yeah, it's not working out. Like the other ones, like they still have a chance to work. Like Aaron Rodgers should go out there and have a really good year. Trevor Lawrence could go out there, have a really good year. Kirk Cousins, coming off of the injury. With this one, I don't know. I mean, could Daniel Jones go out there and surprise us? Yeah, but I mean, as a Giant fan, I just don't really have the confidence. That's I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm a fan, but I don't see it. I mean, many people who aren't Giant fans don't see it either. So that was a mistake. That contract was a mistake. And they should have maybe prioritized bringing back Saquon Barkley. But then you risk losing Daniel Jones, and then it's like, well, who's going to play quarterback then? So, I don't know. But the other thing, too, is it's not even just the play. It's, injuries. Again, it's dealt with a ton of injuries. Last year, neck injury, and then he tore his ACL. Dealt with a neck injury in 21. In 2020, he missed games. The only season that he stayed healthy was 22. Even his rookie season, he was hurt. So, yeah, it was a tough call for the Giants at the time. But, again, they thought they were doing the right thing. But last year, they took a massive step back. For Giant fans, they were hoping that they were going to, that was going to be a building block, but no, the structure, we talk about structure today. The structure ended up getting torn down. So, anyways. But let me know what you guys think, though. Those are the ones that I wanted to focus on. So, Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones. We'll see how 2024 pans out. Does Trevor Lawrence have a bounce-back season? How did the quarterbacks that got hurt, how do they bounce back? Let me know what you guys think about those four guys. How do you see them performing in 2024? So, we're going to take our final break. We did talk about the Giants for a little bit, but we're going to talk about them some more when we come back. We're going to talk about the feud between rookie wide receiver Malik Nabers and Cowboys defensive back Trayvon Diggs. So we'll get into that when we come back from our final break of the show. So with that being said, stick around for one final time today, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to talk about the little feud between rookie wide receiver Malik Nabers and cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys, Trayvon Diggs. So let's get into that. So Trayvon Diggs reposted a video of Malik Nabers. So he was interviewed. They were asked, what corner are you most excited to match up against? And Nabers said Trayvon Diggs. And, Diggs also tweeted something, talking about how the Giants, have just been getting killed by the Cowboys in recent years. And it was just a lot of back and forth. There was Nabers, posted something with the song lyrics. And then Trayvon Diggs posted the video again of him, of Malik Nabers, with a ninja emoji. So it just, it's not really something that's, it's silly. That's really what it comes down to. But I really just wanted to talk about the Giants-Cowboys rivalry, or the lack of a Cowboys-Giants rivalry in recent years. Because what Malik Nabers doesn't understand, and he'll find out very quickly, is the Cowboys have owned the Giants for a while. Really since the Super Bowl that the Giants won. Way back in 2011. Well, 2011. Well, technically in 2012. But the 2011-2012 season, the Cowboys have owned the Giants. Actually, I mean, this is not going way back, but this is probably within the last, 7 years. But yeah, the Cowboys have won 13 of the past 14 matchups against the Giants, including the last 6 games. And one of the matchups that the Giants actually did win, Dak Prescott was hurt. It was during the COVID season. It was the last week of the regular season when the Giants were looking to maybe make the playoffs with a losing record, and Washington ended up winning the division because Doug Peterson decided to bench Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld. Remember that? The Cowboys have owned the Giants. And I want to take you back to, now we're going to fast forward to last year. I was at a wedding, and leading up to that matchup against the Cowboys, I kept joking with my friends, they're going to get blown out. They'll lose 40-17. The Giants picked up Cole Beasley. I was like, Beasley will score a touchdown at the end, when they're, losing by 3 touchdowns. I didn't watch a single second of that game because where I was at. And the Cowboys won 40-0. And I said, the Giants are not going to be good. And that whole offseason, all right, they got the Cowboys week 1. They might have closed the gap a little bit here. They did not close the gap. In fact, the gap got further. Then you had Tommy DeVito start against them. Cowboys put up 40 points again. The Cowboys just own the Giants. And it's been like that, again, since the Super Bowl. And when is that gap ever going to close? And when is it going to be the Giants' time to say, we've had enough? Because at least last year, they smacked around the Eagles a little bit, the final week of the regular season when the Eagles were playing their starters. But still, the team that the Giants own in the division is Washington. That's it. With the Giants and the Cowboys, it's just, it's one-sided. And the only time the Giants have won in the last few years is, again, when Dak Prescott was hurt. Cowboys were dealing with injuries. Actually, the Giants, the closest the Giants have gotten to beating Dak Prescott, it was 2018. The Giants were up, what was it, 35, what were they up, 35-28? And it was on 4th down, I think. Dak Prescott, he threw up this pass to Cole Beasley, and they ruled it incomplete. But it turns out that Cole Beasley was in bounds, because I think his knee hit in bounds, and then his foot hit. And I think it was on the same leg, so that counts as 2. So they ruled it a touchdown, and then what happened after that? Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, they convert a 2-point. They get a 2-point conversion, and the Giants lose by a point. That was the closest that they've gotten to beating Dak Prescott. Well, in the last, several years. Because actually, I did forget to mention, 2016. 2016, they actually did sweep the Cowboys. They did. Now, for me, I throw 2016 out the window because I think the Giants were they had a good record, but were they really that good? They didn't put up 30 points that whole season in a single game. So I did forget about 2016. That's my bad. That's how, because I remember the Super Bowl because that was great. 2016, they made the playoffs and Aaron Rodgers destroyed them. So they did. But that was a rookie Dak Prescott. They won the first game. It was the first game of the year, 20-19. And then the second game, they won 10-7. So, and the Cowboys were unbelievable that season, offensively. But for some reason, when they played the Giants, they just did not play well. So, yeah, so 2016 was the last time that the Giants, they swept the season series with the Cowboys. But again, I kind of, throw 2016 out the window. It's just it's sad. And now we got to be subjected to another Giants-Cowboys matchup on a holiday. They had them play the Giants on Thanksgiving a couple years ago. Now they got them playing them on Thanksgiving again. Why? What? Not just for Giant fans, but for NFL fans all around. Why do you want us to watch that? Give us a good matchup, because the other two matchups I think are good. The Bears and the Lions could be a good game. The Dolphins and the Packers could be a good game. I don't think this game with the Giants Cowboys, I don't think that's going to be a good game. Maybe it is, but I lean towards it not being a good game. So, but it's just it's been tough, and yeah, I mean this little feud that we got going on with Malik Neighbors and Trayvon Diggs. Now, Trayvon Diggs, he missed last year because he tore his ACL, so he's going to be coming back, and now he's going to be matching up with Malik Neighbors, so it's going to be a fun little matchup between those two. Hopefully, Malik Neighbors turns the tide. He becomes the next great LSU receiver, like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Because if that's the case, then and of course, Odell Beckham Jr. when he first came into the league as well. Maybe he changes the tide, but I don't know. Now, I like the pieces that the Giants have in place in certain areas, like on the defensive side of the ball, Neighbors, maybe the offensive line is finally coming along, but they don't have the quarterback. They don't have the quarterback. And until they get the quarterback, they're going to be a third, fourth place team in this division. Because the Eagles, they got better. I know the Cowboys didn't have a splashy offseason, but they're still going to be good. There's concerns with the Cowboys. And I understand that, but I think the Cowboys are still going to win their 11 games. And they'll make the playoffs, and they'll get knocked out in the first round. That's what they do. But they will make the playoffs. And if they don't, that's a huge disappointment. But I don't know. Look at me, and it's me being positive about the Cowboys. I'm a Giant fan, but I'm telling Cowboy fans, you're gonna make the playoffs. But I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how some people aren't. They think the Cowboys are just not going to be that good because they didn't make any moves. They're still a good team. But let's not think that they're just going to fall off a cliff now. But yeah, this little thing with Diggs and Neighbors, it is what it is. And like I said, you're going to find out quickly, Malik Neighbors, that, the Cowboys, they kind of own this rivalry, unfortunately. It's unfortunate. Because they used to be good games. When the Cowboys Stadium first opened, Eli Manning was undefeated in that stadium for a long time. And then, eventually, you're not going to stay undefeated. But, it was a rivalry at one point. Now it's just, we're playing the Giants this week. How many points are we going to score? Now, they do play early on in the season, so, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But that's my thoughts on it. This is not a big deal. Go settle it on the football field, which they will. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well. Like I always say, give the other shows some love. And so with that, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.